Hello and welcome to the GA Plus Analysis Show. As you can see, I'm joined by the ever so happy Seamus Hickey. We have plenty to discuss, so we'll get stuck straight into it. So I was very fortunate in Parnell Park the weekend to watch what I felt was one of the best games of the weekend. So like Dublin Wexford, amazing game, really, really good. And the one thing I noticed about Dublin this year is, firstly, obviously their hurling ability is really, really sharp, like incredibly sharp. Structurally, they are so solid. Structurally so solid, but also I think that they just have this innate ability to get over the ball in numbers and win the ball. But what I noticed, I suppose, firstly from my perspective was the space on the far left hand side. They often hit the ball into a world of space, and how do they create that space? A lot of the time what they done was the wing forward, be it someone like Dara Power on that side or a Brian Hayes, often was Dara Power, he would actually go to midfield. And then you'll have Connor Burke going into the half backline. So a lot of the time last week, Dublin actually played with 4 across the back, and naively at times Wexford followed, which meant you had Charlie going to midfield and then O'Donoghue going into the half backline of Dublin to follow. So here we see it, right? Very simple. Paddy has the ball here. Here we see the line. We also highlight on the top of the screen as well, we can see Simon O'Donoghue. Now, he's your midfielder. He's nearly closer to your full forward than he is to the midfield position. So because he has followed the extra man, i.e. the midfielder, back into half back line, he is completely out of space. Okay. As a result, look at this room. So because that side has gone completely forward, it means that all the Dublin players know the ball is going to go into that side, which means that they can make their move and they can get the ball down. So Rowan Hayes pops the ball down, Curry gets on the ball. This actually could have been a goal opportunity, to be honest. So again, lovely ball across, great feed by Curry, Bill, a stand-up person. And then Dara Power across, John, bang. If that was low, that was a goal. Yeah, but now look how far Simon O'Donoghue has come from. He has come from in between like the 45 and 65 to try and end up on a 21. As a midfielder in today's game, that's just not sustainable. Okay, again, Paddy gets the ball, very, very comfortable on the ball. Dublin's hurling was exceptional. Gibbons gets the ball, goes across to John Bellew. John Bellew was amazing the weekend, by the way. Now, this is the line. There's your cornerback / now gone to midfield for a second, your half back line and your full back line, all in your own side of the field. Bellew sees there's an opportunity inside because everyone is out to getting stuck forward again to try and mark the men, but not really marking the men. We can now see that you have Kevin Foley, Simon O'Donoghue and Lee Chin marking one fella with an acre of space inside. Okay. And last year I think it was the very first episode of what we'd done last year, Tyg de Burke, and we'll come down in a second, done a really, really good job of curtailing that. Okay. So as we can see, here's another simple example. Here's your space. You can see that Charlie on the top of the screen is marking nobody because Dara Power is actually gone, pushing down towards the 65. Connor Burke has gone even deeper. Rather than Charlie actually running and trying to pick up Dara Power and Lawler going to try and pick up Burke, you just pass him on. Burke is not an issue out there. So rather than following the man up there, you tell Charlie, you go back into space, you hold your position there. So if the ball goes in, we've extra bodies on that side. The ball pops up, Paddy has the ball, and now we have this room created inside. Why? Because everybody followed their own man rather than holding your space like Tyg de Burke done last year against Cork in the first round of the championship. We highlighted this last year about how troublesome it was for Cork when Tyg sat there, didn't follow the man, and a load of balls were raining down on top of him. Okay, ball comes in again, John gets the ball over the bar. Very, very simple free. All you need to do is hold your positions. Limerick are one of the best teams in the country at holding their position and not letting the ball go into space there.
Yeah. But to hold your position, it has to be communicated. So like and we'll see it actually again in the Wexford clips. If you're told to go or to hold or to sit, then you trust the guy ahead of you to pick up your man, to pick up your space, to do the job that you have vacated. So like there has to be a huge amount of trust there. For me, that space creation, we saw it last week again between Galway and Kilkenny. Yeah. Kilkenny had that space. They had like if you're regularly conceding that space, it means your shape is ill-disciplined. It is, you have a poor shape, and it means that when you're turned over, you've exposed your full back line. And from fullbacks, the Fullback Association of Ireland, we hate that.
Our place to be.
Yeah, and then so like it kind of ties on to then what I felt like Wexford, to give Dublin that platform to create that space. They did a couple of things, and for me it was they did so poorly on their own puckout. And I consider Fanning to be one of the premier keepers in the country. So here we have a lovely high behind view here. We have Kevin Foley on the left hand side going for puckout. He's going into space. I think for me that's a very logical, reasonable puckout. Puts it into space. But the problem is that the rest of the Wexford full forward line have pushed out. They've brought their men with them. The Dublin defence shape, look at that diamond, that lovely triangle around the player with the ball from Dublin, and they're immediate contact, hit, ball out, turned over, ball away. They put the ball through the hands so well, Dublin. It was really, really exceptional stuff. This time, Fanning's looking for Conor Hearn. So again, all these things are good things to do, but you have to execute them. So Conor Hearn is in a really good channel here, right? The midfield between the centre-back and wing-back is a great channel, but when you overhit it, Dublin, again, their setup is just ready to punish it. Ball is recycled, put back, and here we have, look at this beautiful ball into the corner. Like that's platform for perfect attack. Here we have Fanning, he's looking. He makes a move here like he sees something. You showed it in your clip a few minutes ago. Paddy Smith is attacking from full back. Where? Like there isn't a Wexford player in the air code. Like he's nearly in Glasnevin. Like it's crazy how this puck out was hit. And then you showed, look at the space then up the field that Smith has to hit into. That's as a full back line, it's just too difficult to defend that. On this side then, when we go short, then when I saw that he went short to Owen Ryan then to stand and hit inside your 45, cross field into the 6 box, that can't happen. So like here we have 3 Dublin defenders who can probably make a play on this super play from Paddy Doyle. He's got the right angle to attack that. And then look at if we're talking about platform, how Dublin were able to attack Wexford. It's too easy. And again, so Fanning again is looking for options. Conor Hearn, a great option here. We've got a very, very clear and definite channel here, but it's the sync up between Fanning and Hearn is too late. It gives Brian Hayes a chance to spot it, look inside, and cut it out. So like that should have been delivered 3 seconds earlier, and there'd have been no problem. But this then is straight back over the Dublin bar. So like these are things against good teams in tight competitions that if you're giving away easy scores, well then you're losing. And here we have Fanning. Like so, this to me is too static. So Fanning is looking around for the options. In this instance, he's got, I think it's Conor Foley on the wing. He's just basically hits it. Conor Foley's standing, which means he's now a target. He's already gotten into contact there. There's no options up the line. The Wexford players around him haven't moved or run off the shoulder. And straight away it's turned over. When it's turned over, we got Chris Crummy with a really good shot. But it's this static. If you're going to stand in inter-county hurling, when you receive the ball, you're a duck. You're sitting. Yeah, but like and with the discipline that Dublin have showed, like we pilloried them in the Leinster final last year for their atrocious shape, their conceding of short puckouts.
What to go by 18 last year the Leinster final?
Yeah, this is huge progress. But for Wexford on your own puckout, if you can't create your own platform, you're giving the other team the platform.
But what kind of, I wouldn't say frustrated me from a Wexford point of view, because I think Wexford are a really good team. I think they've some fabulous players. I think Lawler, Hearn, I think a lot of those, I think Hearn in particular, I think he'd get in a lot of inter-county teams. He's actually that good. And you know what? You don't appreciate how good he is until you're actually there and watching him in the skin. Super player. But from a Wexford's puck-out strategy is they let Dublin in the second half with a gale of wind go short all the time. And assuming they didn't have the hurling, I'm thinking myself, didn't have the hurling to pass it around and then get the ball in. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, if they pressed on the puck out even once or twice to see how they would work it out, but instead he just kept on letting Dublin dictate the play. And once they got the ball, even on the 21, they were into the far 21 because Parnell Park is not that long. It's reasonably tight. So like they get the ball in the full back line, they can drive it straight down into John Everton and he can win ball, and we'll show a clip in a second. But something that I really enjoyed the weekend was the direct ball is coming back. So the high ball, rather than playing around a lot of the time, the high ball into the big men are actually becoming more apparent, which is lovely to see, because the feeling of our ball is so nice to watch, and it creates so many opportunities. So let's talk about Lee Chin. Lee, again, amazing player. He does so much right for Wexford. There's a lot of pressure on him, because a lot of Wexford's plays are dictated by him and where he actually is at that given moment in time. They have plenty of other. I thought Kevin Foley was brilliant today. I think he's a really good player. Was a sweeper with Davey back in the day. But as you can see here, puckout comes from Fanny. Lee stands his ground. So as you can see, he's planted his feet. Paddy, probably not as big and strong, even though he's a big unit himself, has decided to go tight on Lee. Lee realizes where he is, gives him a bit of a dunt. The dunt actually kind of puts Paddy forward in front of Lee. And as we discussed last year in some of our shows, as a back, you can't be in front of the player. Okay, so when the ball is coming, Paddy now is in front because he's already after getting hit by Lee, fairly in fairness, which means now you can see Lee's arm is actually on top of Paddy's shoulder, which means Paddy can't actually move. So he's actually been pushed out there. Lee can catch the ball into Rory O'Connor, and a great goal. Okay,
great finish. But like when you're pinned, it's over. Yeah.
Oh yeah, game over.
Yeah.
It's so difficult when you're actually pinned down by the arm, and you know the person is in behind you. It's a hard one. Okay. Again, this happened several times, first half, second half. Okay, Mark goes long. This time it's Dunleavy. Again, same thing. You can see here Lee is actually setting his feet. He sees Dunleavy is right beside him. Okay. He hits Dunleavy a shot before he comes. The ball breaks, bang, Hurley over, catches the ball, and free. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing you do as a back, if you're shorter, which I had 90% of the time, you actually don't get engaged in that physical battle. Okay. Same here. John Hetherington, fabulous 2 goals. Really, really good. Lovely hurling. Probably one of the best hurlers, natural hurlers in Dublin. Bang of a shoulder against Liam Ryan, who again is a big man. Shoulder before the ball comes. As you can see there, his 2 feet are planted, so he has the power in his legs. Hand up, catches the ball. But what I really liked about this was, right, his ability to roll over and look up. Like natural instinct, look up and give it to somebody. This is literally a pop pass. It's not even like a proper hand pass. It's literally pop up. Curry comes around the corner. I thought this was a great score, by the way. Pop again, straight over the bar. Okay, so a couple of things. When they're planting their feet, when big men plant their feet, let's not engage in them. Okay, try and get in last second and get the hand, get the hurley. Again, Peter Duggan, I just picked this one out because I really enjoyed this one, even though it was on Mark Fitz, who's a club player of mine, and my oldest child loves Mark Fitz. Okay, so despite all that, space inside, you'll see the Clare players making the move. Duggan is actually on the sideline, so he stands about 5 or 6 yards away from Mark Fitz. Once the ball is in the air, you can now see all the Clare players actually starting to run towards, so it's obviously a set play. He gets in front of Mark, but the first thing before he does, he hits him, which means he now is in front, holding him down again with, as we say, the catching hand, because most people catch that hand, but holds him down. He's actually only sitting on Mark's knee, so Mark actually can't do anything, despite the fact he's doing all he can to try and disrupt him. Catches the ball in the wrong hand, and obviously he's off. Great free by Darragh Lyons, boy, because that was a set play, and I would assume that Clare were trying to like get a score from that, even though it was free and it was a score, but it could have been a far more like fruitful score. It could have been a goal opportunity because they had so many bodies around it. But just look at this. Hits him, he's in front of him, holds him down with one arm. Lovely. Like that's what we love to see.
If anybody in the country doesn't know that Duggan switches hands at this stage, then you know they're well behind. The key thing that you said, and it was always the case. Like I was typically, you know, I was kind of trying to tussle under a ball a lot of the time, whether it was in the half back line, particularly in the full back line. Sometimes the tussle keeps your man from kind of taking a few steps away from you. But absolutely, who was a king of timing under a high ball was actually Lark Corbett and Seamus Callan. They were as forwards. So it's actually the same principle. So if you don't want to get stuck under a high ball in a physical battle, well then you take 3 steps back and you time it. And for the likes of Duggan, like Mark, Like you can't get caught. Like he's just too strong. And it's the likes of, like, I love Duggan and Rob Downey's battle in Cork Creeve last year. Two massive men were really fighting and physical under high ball. But there's ways. Like, if you have to be smart. Heatherton to me is so strong. Like, Liam Ryan is not a weak dude. Like, there was no power disparity there. But you have to be smart. If you're not going to win ball directly, it is timing and getting the hurling. Leach in, like, he's playing super stuff. But he's the only reliable person for Wexford to win ball. So
can I be very like maybe old and give my tuppence worth? Do you know what annoys me a lot of the time lately is a lot of the backs want to hurl too much. There's a time to hurl. There's a time to hurl, and there's a time to just get the ball to ground. There's a time to get the ball to ground and stand on it if you have to. You don't need to like hurl every ball. And at times,
primary objective,
catching the ball or playing the ball out lovely. Just a keeper behind you.
Primary objective of defenders is stop the ball. Don't let it pass your line, particularly halfbacks. They can't let the ball through the line, so the ball has to go forward. Yeah. If you're trying to overdo it, if you're trying to catch and go and attack, get the basics right first. What I looked at then, you actually showed a really good clip from Duggan in the Waterford game. I thought that Clare played in and set up shape-wise quite well against Waterford, right? So their full back line hurled extremely well from play. I would say the Waterford full forward line found it difficult to get any change off it. Desi was relatively quiet. I thought Mahoney wasn't getting much change off of Hogan or Lean. So for me, they actually... The Clare did well for, I would say, 60 minutes of the game. The game really only got away from them with the second goal and when it went to 6 points up. So I showed like what I thought really put Clare in a hole was mistakes. Like it was not kind of forced errors, what I would say unforced errors. And it was the difference, I would say, particularly the ease of the scores that they conceded. So like, again, they tackled well. Their ability to swarm and to actually strip the ball in tackles was good. Ryan Taylor coming away with the ball, done well. Now, David Reedy has time here, right? This is a ball to Mark Rogers, and that's just poorly hit. It's poorly executed. And, here we have, this is a beautiful flash ball right down the line to Bennett, who gives a lovely little gentle nudge there to Lohan, and a great score. But it's like Reedy was under no pressure there. And the immediate result of that was a score. Quilligan then, they tried to use the short puck out a couple of times. Clare, I don't think they used it particularly well. But Lohan, look at the space in front of Conlon to run into, and he puts it out over the line. Like, straight away, that's a Waterford attack then. Ball comes in here to Quilligan, again, does well, gathers the ball. A really good ball to McInerney. Ball to hand, no complaints. But this we're senior into county hurling, like, that can't happen. I would argue that McInerney's ball to Fitz has to be to hand. It just has to be. Like, fair enough, Fitzgerald's touch wasn't good, but that ball has to be zipped. And it's probably a bit indicative of the malaise that Clare have at times. Hogan here, right? He should have gone short to Duggan. He wanted to go long to the corner, and he didn't either. And he ended up hitting it short. And here we have just beautiful ball. Like, that turns into such an easy score. It's kind of repeating ourselves from the Dublin scenario. And
Darragh Lyons got 2 or 3 points in a row just because of sloppy play.
Easy scores, and Darragh Lyons played really well. But like, if you've got good strikers there you go. Ryan Taylor coming out after winning the ball. Clare after doing well to dispossess Waterford. These are 2 good options. Give it to Adam Hogan. Give it to Cathal Malone on the wing. The only bad option is the man with 3 players. And it's the one he goes with. Like, the ball is turned over so easily here. Galvin coughs it up. Prendergast comes around, and then a hand on the shoulder from David Fitz. That's a sloppy free. So, for me, this one is fine. Players make mistakes all the time. That's not a bother. It's just the decision making, and when these errors compound is when it's a problem. So again, Clare doing well here. Great pressure, great disposition by Reedy again. Taylor, great work from the 2 of them. Reedy does really well to get this ball into his hand and spin away. Now, and as he spins away, he goes up the field. He's got Duggan in front of him on the line. He's got Cathal Malone as going back, or he's got all that space to run into. He's got wheels. He can go. The only decision that you can't make is the one he does, and he goes back into the numbers. And when he tries then to hit the ball off the hurley, because he's caught it twice, ball goes to ground. David Fitz is dispossessed. Now we have massive Waterford players. Numbers for Waterford. Ball breaks, and we're away. Mikey Kiley's making a great support run and takes it in. Now, I can talk about whether I think it's a penalty or not. I think the ball was off before the foul, but, you know, penalty given, goal scored, and that's huge. It was absolutely a massive score in the game. And it, you know, for a team that had the wind and Clare were looking to chip away at that lead, it basically put them again now in a 3-point hole that they were already trying to climb out of.
Yeah, you're right, Seamus. It was just poor mistakes. And again, it's a point that we made early on in this conversation. It will be interesting to look at trends over the last kind of couple of years of where teams have gone away from home after a really difficult, you know, previous first game, and seeing what the consequences are. I doubt there's too many teams that have had a very difficult game like Offaly and like Clare, and then to try perform again at a really high standard.
On the road, that's a fair point.
Far above our pay grade to look at all those stats, though, isn't it? So you have another one, Seamus, on Cork's half-forward line. You were very impressed by him.
So in all the things that we could glean from the Cork tip game, very hard when there's 14 versus 15 for 70 minutes, right? But what I would say from a Cork perspective, from Pat Ryan's perspective, the reliance on the full forward line against Clare was their undoing in the second half, and when Clare came back at them. I thought that Sunday was a good example of them tying the middle third with the final third, and the two of them really working together. So the half-hour line for Cork scored 211 on Sunday. The previous week against Clare, they scored 7 points. So, you know, when Cork have this complementary play going, then they're a dangerous team. Here we have them working the ball out. Mark Coleman goes back to spray a lovely crossfield ball. And then we freeze it there to show Brian Hayes attacking that lovely space. But that space is only there because of the platform that they're hitting from. I still think Tipperary's shape was good. Here we've got Tim O'Mahony then, his angled run through the centre. So when Hayes wins that ball, he's got a target, and Tim O'Mahony has lost Morgan in the middle of the field. Super ball by Hayes. Like, what a executing that is the key, and a great finish. But last week it was the full forward line were bunched together, they were hitting it and they were working off each other. But this week you're tying out in midfield. Then we have Patrick Collins, he's having a great year so far. Wins the ball, brings it out. Joyce then zips a lovely ball down the sideline. Now, Darragh Fitzgibbon, all the Cork forwards, right? They're gambling for best case scenario. Darragh Fitzgibbon running on the outside, even when Hayes isn't in front to win the ball, he's in there in time to rescue the situation. Hayes is involved in everything Cork do well. Lads, he's so pivotal to their game. When the ball goes across then from Fitzgibbon, Connolly's able to finish. But it's that connection of the half forward line and the full forward line that makes that work. Collins then takes a kind of shifts the angle of attack, where he kind of takes the short one, gives it back, and he finds Hardy, who's gone into space. He's lost half back, which is, you know, it happens when there's a clutter of bodies and space run into late. But Hardy scored 5 points from play. Like, Hardy was huge for Cork at the weekend. And then again, Cork are still hitting the full forward line. Here we have Hoggy winning the ball, but it's the run off of him, Dalton coming off the shoulder. Those easy scores are sustainable for Cork. You can't rely on your full forward line scoring 310 every week, but you can rely on interplay. This to me is one of the most dangerous puckouts in the game, and that's a ball to Darragh Fitzgibbon moving. You know, in that 11 channel, they cleared it out. He takes it on the run. That's Ronan Maher chasing him. That's not a scrub. That's one of the best centre backs in the game. And to me, that's a very dangerous Cork. If they can sustain that, can they tie the middle of the field to the full forward line? Full forward line have already proven that they're lethal. Can we then tie the midfield and half forward line to win that ball on the loop? And if they can, that's dangerous. Like, Tipperary still had 6 backs, so the numbers were 1-to-1 in that regard. And so tracking from midfield should still happen. And that's, to me, is probably the most sustainable aspect of a game for Cork going forward. In the second half, I thought it was bad play. It was a poor game of hurling to watch in the second half. But what they did in the first half, to me, is, you know, what they need to produce on the regular.
They only really looked like they didn't look like they were actually in full flow. You could even hear, when watching the match, you could even hear groans because of just like lack of pace, lack of like good quality ball into the full forward line, which Cork are traditionally known for, and just kind of messing around a lot of the time. So again, that's the 15 versus 14 that's going to happen, and it's very difficult to try and change the psyche on that. So I know we're coming tight on the end, but what we might do is, I haven't asked you this. Give me the 3 coming out of Leinster, 3 coming out of Munster. Who's in the Munster final? Who's in the Leinster final? Before we go, call it now, because if you call next week, you could already know who's in like through. So let's go with Leinster first. Who do you think is coming out of Leinster?
Leinster final for me is probably going to come down to Kilkenny, and the Dubs, even if they win out bar Galway, then it's Kilkenny, Dublin. Galway would have to turn over Dublin and win out for them to get to it. But it just, I'd be surprised if that game against Wexford isn't a tough one for them. In Munster, for me, it's probably looking like it's very, very difficult to call at this stage. But Cork are looking like they're on the right track. The result of Waterford Limerick will tell everything.
To a Munster final, Cork to a Munster final.
Cork for Munster final, and I would say like the deciding game could be Waterford Limerick in Walsh Park this weekend, because if Waterford get 4 points, they're in pole position surely. Like that's why every game in Munster changes the whole complexion, because Clare were favourites going into the game at the weekend, and now they've only 1 point, and now they're fighting for survival against Tipperary the next day. Tipperary the same after a renaissance against Limerick. They're staring down the barrel of one more loss, and they look like they could be gone. So every week is so important in Munster Championship. It's very, very hard to call anything definitively.
Okay, that's very political, I must say. That's only Waterford's second win. That's only Waterford's second win, I think, in 21 games since the round robin came in. So with that in mind, we'll finish on a positive. I get to see you on Saturday, which is going to make my weekend. So with that in mind,
we'll still be friends afterwards.
Oh, of course we will. We'll hug it out after the final this year. So with that in mind, thanks a million, Seamus. Really good stuff there, really enjoyable. So don't forget that you have in detail the big ball version of this. You have Aaron and Michael going to give their deep analysis on what happened over the weekend. So with that in mind, thanks a million, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.